Minecraft is one of the most popular games in the world where you can essentially do whatever you want. From building, to PvP, to whatever you do in Minecraft. I don't know what you people do. What am I, some kind of psychic? But one of the many things that I think that make Minecraft unique is the enchantment system, allowing you to add extra abilities and protection to your weapons and armor. And of course, for some random reason, because I'm like this, I just felt the need to rank them. And make no mistake, this video will definitely tick all of you off. So if you do end up getting mad, or you just happen to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, let's get on with this, shall we? Number 39, Curse of Binding. This has to be one of the most useless enchantments, maybe even one of the worst items in the entirety of Minecraft itself. It basically makes it to where when you put on a piece of armor with the Curse of Binding, you can essentially never take it off again. There are legit only two ways that you can get rid of this armor. One, you break it, or two, you simply die. I mean, this enchantment has to be more useless than the stupid little trader boy who's always trying to steal my lunch money. Like, bro, just screw off already. But luckily, it mostly seems to be found in chests that are in generated structures. For instance, the ruined portal with a 90% pointless loot rate. It's also just not good for hardcore worlds, so just don't. Number 38, Curse of Vanishing. It's no surprise that the only two curse enchantments in the entire game take the worst spots. But at least with Curse of Vanishing, it isn't as useless and annoying as Curse of Binding. If you have the enchantment on an item, the item will completely disappear from the world entirely if you die. There are ways to avoid this though. For instance, if you put the item into a shulker box, when you die it should still hypothetically be there. And to be honest, this item is more useless than bad. If you're playing hardcore mode, then hypothetically it doesn't really matter if you have this enchantment on an item or not. Unless you're some kind of rando who can come back to life in hardcore because you're weird like that. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Number 37, Thorns. At its base, it basically allows you to do damage to other mobs when they attack you. But if we look a bit further, it's simply just not as good as it sounds. You see, you'll lose their ability anytime you do said damage. And unless you feel like turning into a double-edged pincushion that every grandmama has at their sewing drawer, then I wouldn't recommend trying to go for this enchantment, personally. And if we do a quick Google search and look at the stats, if you have 4 armor pieces with thorns on it, there is only a 61% chance that the thorns enchant actually takes effect, which may be high, but for all 4 pieces of armor to have thorns 3 on it, and it does a 61% chance to actually take effect, that's just not that good in my opinion. Also, the damage done is around 1.5 hearts, so take that as you will. Number 36, Bane of Arthropods. You know, you gotta love the feeling of opening up the enchantment table and seeing the dreaded Bane of Arthropods enchantment. And other than being the superpower that every arachnophobe wishes they had, it actually isn't 100% useless. Only about 87%. Along with spiders and cave spiders, Bane of Arthropods not only does increased damage to silverfish, endermites, and bees for whatever reason, but it also applies slowness 4 to all of these mobs as well. And now all the arachnophobes can live in peace. You're welcome. Number 35, Multi-Shot. Sorry, crossbow-only users, your time has unfortunately come. Multi-Shot allows you to shoot 3 arrows at once from one bow shot. And while this typically may sound good, there are some things to think about. The first and most obvious one being that this enchant only affects crossbows. So if you're like me and like to use a regular bow, then you're kinda SOL. And the second is that if you want to actually do any damage with this, then it should be used either on big groups of mobs or at point blank on the zombie who has the coffee breath of an 85-year-old man. Also, even though it shoots 3 arrows, it only really uses 1, so that's pretty neat, I guess. Number 34, Impaling. This enchant basically allows you to do more damage than normal to underwater mobs that spawn naturally in the ocean, specifically guardians and drowns. I mean, I guess technically you could use a trident with the enchantment on a cute axolotl or a glowy boy, but if you did that, then I might have to just smack the living Christ out of you. In Minecraft, of course. Don't take this seriously, please. And again, for those of you who are curious, here's another chart with the damage numbers. But hey, for trident-specific enchantments, this one isn't all that bad. Number 33, Luck of the Sea. This enchantment allows you to find better loot other than fish while fishing. It's similar to fishing when you were a kid and then pulling some random nonsense out of the water. But this time, the nonsense can be something pretty good. For instance, a random enchantment book. While this is cool and all, With a max level of 3, you still have an 84.5% chance to catch fish, an 11.3% chance to catch actual treasure, and a 4.2% chance to catch some random piece of trash that's been sitting there for the past millennia. I mean, they could have at least made it 15% chance to catch treasure. I mean, come on, man. Number 32, Frostwalker. Now, before you go get your panties in a bunch and say, oh, well, you could walk across an entire ocean with Frostwalker. Yes, I know, calm yourself. But in my opinion, there are so many other enchantments that serve a better purpose. And I guess while you could use Frostwalker to walk across an ocean, you could also put Deathstrider 3 on your boots and then zoom through the ocean. And that's not even bringing in Dolphin's Grace. And you could also use a boat. You know, like normal people, but who's really normal in today's world? I should also mention that with this enchantment, it also prevents you from taking damage from magma blocks, so that's kind of fun. Number 31, Quick Charge. It basically does what it says it does. It simply reduces the time it takes for a bow to charge. Now, under normal circumstances, this is pretty decent, but it has the same problem as multi-shot. It only works on the Flip McChicken crossbow. Now, I can semi-understand multi-shot being crossbow exclusive, but both the bow and crossbow have semi-long charge times. Other than that, it's not that bad of an enchantment. But for F's sake, I want quick charge on my bow. I'm old, okay? Number 30, Piercing. Now, didn't I just say stop making crossbow exclusive enchants? Jesus Christ, I swear to God. Anyway, this enchant allows one arrow to shoot through multiple entities. That's it. That's all. Add the enchant to the flippin' bow. Number 29, Riptide. Have you ever dreamed of becoming a great value Aquaman from Walmart? Well, now's your chance. Riptide simply allows you to zoom through the ocean with a trident. You can also use it while it's raining, and if you combine this with an elytra, you can really zoom. Now, if these are all advantages, then why is it so low on the list? Well, the main reason is because this can only be used while in water or while in rain. If you're in the ocean or a small lake, then this is a great means of transportation. But considering we do most of our exploration on land, this can get annoying. Place water, use Riptide, and try not to die. Plus, there are just better means of transportation. Number 28, Channeling. This enchant summons a bolt of lightning with your trident like you're flipping Thor before, well, you know. But unfortunately, it only works during thunderstorms. And thunderstorms only happen so often in Minecraft. Which is the main reason that it ranks on the lower end of the list, because if it happened all the time, well, it'd be pretty OP. But this enchant can get you one of the rarest items in the game, mob heads. During a thunderstorm, you can throw the trident at a creeper to get a charged creeper, and then having said creeper explode and kill another mob will give you its head. Pretty neat. Number 27, Loyalty. Now, I promised that I wasn't trying to rank all of the trident enchantments all together. That just happens to be the order that I feel they need to go in. After all, this is mostly opinion based. When you throw your trident, Loyalty makes it to where your trident comes back to you on its own. Kinda like you're using the Force or some nonsense like that. And as far as trident enchants go, this is definitely a must, but compared to all enchants, this one is okay to average. That's just how it is. Number 26, Lore. One thing that everyone hates in Minecraft is waiting for a fish to bite, because it takes 20.5 years. Well, luckily, we can fix that. Kind of. Lore basically does what it says it does. It reduces the time it takes for something to bite. That's pretty much it. Oh, and this also counts for trash and treasure, so I guess that's pretty neat. Number 25, Weeping Edge. Yes, finally, now we're actually getting to the important enchantments. Sweeping Edge basically increases the sweeping attack damage. Now, under normal circumstances, this would rank higher on the list, but there's one problem. Apparently, this is only available on Java Edition, and I say apparently because I never ever play Bedrock Edition. I mean, what am I, some kind of crazy psychopathic person with a Windows XP computer that can't even run Java Edition? Yeah, I think not. Number 24, Silk Touch. If you enjoy building and collecting blocks in survival, then this is the enchantment for you. Silk Touch makes it to where blocks that are mined will be dropped as blocks. For instance, mining a diamond ore block will give you the actual ore block instead of the diamond itself. And of course, even though the rest of these enchantments will be B tier or higher, we unfortunately can't rank them all number 1. And since Silk Touch is pretty much only good for decoration, I just simply won't rank it any higher. Number 23, Knockback. It basically says what it's gonna do. Gonna send mobs flying like your average anime protagonist. And what I'm about to say may be very strictly opinion based, but this enchant is 50% good and 50% too much. And what I mean by that is if we look at Knockback 1, it does just enough knockback to be able to attack the mob again in a decent amount of time. But with knockback 2, it's almost like after hitting them, you have to have a 50-yard dash just to attack them again. Basically, a 50-50 enchant depending on what number you have. Number 22, Respiration. This enchant basically just turns you into a great value fish, and by that I mean it extends the time you can breathe underwater. And from my experience, and this may just be luck on my side, but I've never really had any difficulty getting this enchantment, but there are some things to consider. For instance, putting Eternal Shell on just gives you infinite water breathing forever. And you also have things like water breathing potions, magma blocks, conduits that allow you to breathe underwater, or if you're crazy, you can just use the door strat. Number 21, Fortune. This enchantment basically allows you to get more than one item from mining one of a certain block. For instance, if we mine a diamond ore block with a Fortune 3 pick, we get multiple diamonds instead of one. And it pretty much just mostly works on ore blocks. That's about it. It's good enough. Number 20, Aqua Affinity. Basically, it allows you to mine faster than normal underwater. Now, this enchant was not as useful before the Caves and Cliffs update, and it was almost pointless before update 1.13, aka the Aquatic update. So if this was being made before that, it would be ranked at a much worse rank. But luckily, in the current versions, this enchant can be pretty useful with all the mentally challenged caves. Number 19, Looting. A solid enchantment for what it's worth, allowing you to get extra loot from mobs, hence the name Looting. And really, this could be especially good for mob farms if you want to get some extra loot, unless you're using it for a zombie farm, in which case, I'm so sorry, but overall, pretty decent. Number 18, Fire Aspect. Now, if you couldn't tell from the name, it basically sets your enemies on fire when striking them. This is good, most of the time. If we take a look at the legendary Phil's in Minecraft, for example, he was set on fire before dying in his hardcore world. And if we take into consideration the fact that in-game loot typically one-shots majority of mobs, then Fire Aspect isn't as useful as it could be. But if we ever want to save the trouble of putting food into a furnace, then Fire Aspect is probably where it's at. Pretty solid, but could easily be used as a double-edged sword. Number 17, Flame. Now, remember everything I just said about Fire Aspect? Right, now apply that to the bow. It does the same thing, the only reason this has an advantage is because it can be used at long range. Number 16, Soul Speed. One of the more rare enchants that can only be obtained in the Nether from trading with piglins or finding them in bastion chests. It basically just allows you to move faster on soul sand. And I'm just so sad that this couldn't be ranked any higher because it's one that is so nice to have. But in all honesty, how often are you in the Nether, and even more, how often are you running on soul sand? Unfortunately, because of this, I don't want to rank it any higher than this. Number 15, Punch. It basically does the same thing as knockback, except it's long range and it's like getting hit by Mike Tyson after he just got out of prison. It's also pretty good at knocking things away from you or off of something high. I don't know, it's just a pretty good enchantment. Number 14, Swift Sneak. Now this is one of the newer enchantments added to Minecraft, and honestly, one that we needed but didn't know that we needed. That makes sense, right? Anyway, this enchant does what it says, allowing you to move faster while sneaking. I mean, how many times are you crouching in Minecraft? You know, having the instinctual habit of crouching while mining? Basically, a lot. But, unfortunately, there are a few caveats to this enchant. The first of which being that it can only be applied on leggings. Which, to be fair, it makes sense. And the second being that it can only be found in the deep flippin' dark. Yeah, have fun getting that in your hardcore world. Number 13, Depth Strider. Allowing you to move super fast while in water, this enchant is typically a crowd favorite. And I know I mentioned this earlier, but combining this with Dolphin's Grace actually just sends you flying through the ocean. And this enchant is boot specific, which makes sense, but is probably one of the few setbacks it has. Overall though, pretty decent enchantment. Number 12, Fire Protection. Now, I know all the protection enchantments are going to be controversial, but to that I say, deal with it. Anyway, Fire Protection basically does what it says it does. It protects you from fire and lava and other fire stuff. And as good as it may be, it unfortunately ranks last when it comes to the protection enchantments. Simply because you run into fire and lava the least when compared to something like projectile protection where you can easily get sniped by ninja level skeletons. But hey, if you ever decide to live in the Nether, then by all means please go for this enchant. Number 11, Blast Protection. This enchant, if not obvious enough, protects you from creeper explosions, TNT, and beds, and other kind of explosions. But another plus of this enchantment is that it reduces knockback from explosions up to 60%. That's about it. Good enchant, nothing more needs to be said. Number 10, efficiency. Taking the number 10 spot, this enchant actually has two features, one of which may not be as well known. The first is, obviously, allowing you to mine faster. And I'm just gonna say it, if you're at the enchanting stage and you're using a pick without efficiency, then you might need to book a therapist. The second feature is that if applied to an axe, it has a chance to stun a shield. So definitely worthy of a top 10 spot. Number 9, Infinity. And no, not Gojo's special ability. Let it go back to anime TikTok. Jesus Christ. Anyway, Infinity allows you to have infinite arrows as long as one is in your inventory. And having Infinity allows you to save a lot of inventory space instead of carrying a few stacks of arrows around. Especially if you like going to the dragon fight over prepared, but there's only one tiny problem with this enchant. You can't combine it with mending. Yes, I know, but boo-hoo, go cry about it. It still deserves this spot. Number 8, Hour. Think of sharpness, but on a bow. This enchant basically allows an arrow to do significantly more damage and is a must-have for your bow. If you don't, then you need a bit of help. Just a bit, though. And as far as both crossbows and regular bows go, this is probably the best enchant for them. Pretty simple, nothing more needs to be said. Number 7, Smite. Definitely one of the better enchantments in the game. And it's similar to sharpness, but does a lot more damage to undead mobs. For instance, zombies, skeletons, and wither skeletons. The only reason, and I mean the only reason, why this isn't top 5 is simply because it's only effective on undead mobs. If you look at a mob like a creeper, it doesn't really affect it. But other than that, it's definitely a top tier enchant. Number 6, Feather Falling. An enchant specifically for the boots and with an interesting name. This enchant allows you to take less fall damage. Pretty simple, but efficient. This is also a good enchantment to have if you plan to go to the end. You know, just in case you get yeeted 20 years into the future by an angry dragon who thinks they're like Kaido. Again, another good enchantment. Number 5, Projectile Protection. Hey, let's go, top 5 baby, let's go! This enchantment, again, does what it says. It basically protects you from projectiles. For instance, arrows and blaze fireballs. Now, why would I rank this enchantment so high? Well, aside from the 2 projectiles that I mentioned, there's also a good amount of them in Minecraft. Also, the enchantment doesn't just go on the helmet, it can go on all the armor pieces. Man, it's too bad you can't combine armor pieces anymore. Number 4, Unbreaking. A very common enchantment, and a good one at that. It basically increases the durability life of a weapon or a piece of armor. Of course, this is a must-have on any weapon or any armor set, especially if you're using gold items. Even though I don't know why you would ever willingly use gold items, but hey, you do you, I guess. Number 3, Protection. One of the best enchantments for armor in the entire game. Think of all the other protection enchantments, and now combine them into one enchant. Protection basically allows you to take less damage from almost all types of damage in the entire game. Blast damage, fire damage, projectile damage, so on and so forth. And if you can't decide which protection enchantment to go for, just go for base protection. Honestly, it's just an S tier enchant. Number 2, Sharpness. It's simple, it's nice, and just all around amazing. It basically allows your weapon to do more melee damage to all mobs. And honestly, doing damage to things without this enchantment on it is just annoying. I mean, it's like trying to do damage to a zombie with a plastic party knife. Oh, this enchant also can be applied to axes. But yeah, it just makes sense that this enchant takes the number 2 spot. Number 1, Mending. That's right, Mending takes the number 1 spot. And if you were expecting anything other than Mending or potentially Protection or Sharpness, then, well, nice try, I guess. Now, Mending basically allows you to have your tools and armor forever without making new ones or repairing them. Basically, it takes XP that you would get from mobs or any other source of XP and turns it into durability, thus repairing the weapons. You absolutely 100% have to have this on your weapons, tools, and armor. Also, this is just really good to have on an Elytra. But overall, in my opinion, this is the current best Minecraft enchant, simply because it allows you to save resources, time, and armor and tools. Yeah, guess we made it to the end of the video. So if you guys liked it, be sure to subscribe and like. And if you want more content in this style, then definitely let me know. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye! Oh, oof, finally that video's done. I guess I can go get some rest now. Jesus Christ. Ugh. Wait. English or Spanish?
Baby, you got something in your nose. Sniffing that K, did you feel the hole? Hope you find peace for yourself.